My wife blamed her affair on my infertility, but then I uncovered she'd been secretly taking birth control and even sabotaged my fertility test just to trap me in a childless marriage. What I found next blew everything open. Hello Reddit I+ here. I am a 37-year-old guy named Callan. Although for most of my life I never thought my name or my story would be attached to anything dramatic. Until last year, I thought I understood my marriage, my future, and the person I had promised my life to. I was married to a woman named Mara. She was 35, brilliant, charming when she wanted to be, and skilled at reading a room in a way that made her seem untouchable. People gravitated toward her. I met her when I was 27 at a weekend hiking meetup. She laughed at my terrible jokes, matched my pace up the trail, and spent half the climb telling me about the countries she wanted to visit. We dated for 2 years, got married, bought a house, and settled into a life that felt stable, a life that felt earned. I worked as a systems engineer for a tech firm. Mara was a brand manager for a cosmetics company. We both made solid money and lived comfortably. The one thing we never got was the family we spent years planning. Or rather, the family I thought we were planning. For a long time, I believed the issue was me. We started trying for a baby when Mara turned 31. Month after month, nothing happened. Mara became tense. She started tracking her cycles with military precision, buying every ovulation kit in the pharmacy, and rearranging our entire lives around timing. She would shake me awake with a flat voice saying it was time, and the whole process took on the warmth of a mandatory work meeting. 2 years into trying, Mara said we needed fertility testing. I agreed. I felt ashamed that we had reached that stage. But I also wanted answers. When my test results came back, I felt like the ground cracked beneath me. My sperm count and motility were awful. The doctor was kind, but blunt. Natural conception would be extremely unlikely. I spent nights staring at the ceiling, questioning my value as a husband. Mara comforted me at first. She said we would adopt or try IVF, or travel the world instead. She said my worth was not tied to biology. I clung to her reassurance like a lifeline. But then, everything changed. Mara became cold, snappish, resentful. She made comments about losing her chance to be a mother. She cried when she saw babies. She got jealous when friends had kids. I suggested IVF or adoption. She always had reasons to delay. Her job was too busy. Her stress was too high. Her emotions were too raw. I felt guilty, so I never pushed. 6 months after my diagnosis, Mara joined an expensive gym. She started working late. She bought new outfits that did not look like her. She became glued to her phone and would step outside to take calls. Our intimacy dropped to 0. She said it hurt too much emotionally because it would never lead to pregnancy. I believed her. I should not have. One Friday, everything began to unravel. I finished work early and decided to surprise her with dinner because she had been skipping meals. I drove to her office building. It was empty. The security guard told me everyone had left over an hour earlier. I texted her. She said she was at dinner with a client. I asked where. She dodged. She claimed confidentiality and said she would be home late. I opened the location-sharing app we had both forgotten existed. She was across town at a luxury apartment complex. I drove there and waited. She walked out 30 minutes later with a man. Tall, sculpted, maybe early 30s. They laughed, got close, and kissed. Not a hesitant kiss. A practiced one. I did not confront her. I went home, acted sick, and went to bed. I needed clarity before I acted. Over the next week, I hired a private investigator. The man's name was Taryn. He was a personal trainer at Mara's gym. Their affair had been going on for at least 5 months. There were photos, hotel receipts, everything. The part that destroyed me was the timing. She started seeing him right after my infertility diagnosis. While I was grieving the idea that I might never be a father, she was building a new world behind my back. I met with a divorce attorney. He told me to gather documents, secure valuables, back up electronics, everything. I prepared for 2 weeks. Then I staged the confrontation. I told Mara we had an appointment with a fertility specialist to discuss IVF. She reluctantly agreed. When we arrived at the clinic, I led her to a reserved conference room. My attorney and the private investigator were waiting. The evidence sat in neat piles. Mara went pale. I told her I knew everything and that I had already filed for divorce. That is when she fell apart and said the most twisted sentence I have ever heard from another human being. She said she cheated because I was infertile. She said she needed someone who could give her the life she wanted. She said she loved me, but she also loved the idea of motherhood, and she could not let one cancel out the other. She wanted me as her husband and Taryn as her child's father. My attorney slid her medical records across the table. They showed she had been filling birth control prescriptions for 3 years. 3 entire years, supposedly spent trying for a baby. Mara stared at the records, claimed she only started birth control after my diagnosis. Then my attorney slid the next document. The dates went back long before any test results. Every ovulation test she took in front of me, every fertility window she circled, every month of fake disappointment. It was staged, a performance designed to make me believe the failure was mine. Then came the worst part. My attorney had uncovered something she had never meant for me to know. Her records showed she had been pregnant 2 years earlier and had quietly terminated the pregnancy. She never told me. The baby may not have been mine, and that is when Mara broke completely. She screamed that the pregnancy was a mistake. She said she was terrified of losing me. She said she panicked. She said 100 fragmented excuses that did not matter. The truth was simple. I had been living in a marriage she engineered on lies layered on lies layered on lies. And those lies were not finished, because more twists appeared as the divorce process unfolded. Twists involving money she had moved without my knowledge, a trust account she created in her sister's name, a planned relocation she had already discussed with Taryn, and a recorded conversation between her and a friend where she bragged about sabotaging my fertility test. She bragged about switching cups in the clinic restroom because she wanted me to be the infertile one. She bragged about trapping me in a marriage where she controlled the narrative. She bragged about how I would never leave her because I felt broken. That recording became the final nail in every coffin. After the confrontation at the clinic, Mara moved out and stayed with her sister for a while. I stayed in the house, but every room felt haunted by versions of her that never really existed. I thought the worst had already come out. I was wrong. Very wrong. During the initial stages of the divorce, my attorney began digging through our financials. That is when we uncovered the first hidden problem. Mara had opened a private savings account 2 years earlier, right around the time she secretly got pregnant. The money in that account totaled over $50,000, and every dollar came from transfers out of joint funds she claimed were for investments. It got worse. She had created a trust account under her sister's name months before I discovered the affair. My attorney suspected this was her exit plan. She was preparing to start a new life with Taryn, possibly even leave the state once she got pregnant again. While all this was unfolding, the private investigator found something disturbing. A recorded phone conversation between Mara and her closest friend. The recording was from months earlier. PI's legal, because Mara's friend had willingly provided it after learning about the affair. In the recording, Mara talked openly about sabotaging my fertility test. She described switching sample cups in the clinic restroom. She admitted she wanted me to think I was infertile because it gave her leverage. She said that once I believed the issue was mine, I would never question her actions. But the most chilling sentence of that entire recording was this. She said she liked knowing I would stay loyal out of guilt. When my attorney played the audio for me, I felt my chest burn. I had lived my life apologizing for something she had orchestrated. Once that recording was filed into the court system, everything shifted. Mara's attorney called mine repeatedly to try to negotiate, but my attorney refused until we uncovered everything. And then came twist 2. Twist 2. The man she cheated with was not who he pretended to be. One evening, around 3 weeks after the confrontation, the private investigator called me. He said there was a development regarding Taryn, the trainer she had been seeing. Turns out he was not just a personal trainer. That was the surface-level story he told clients and employers. He was also running an underground paid coaching scheme targeting married women from upscale neighborhoods. The investigator found out through gym employees and 2 former clients who described him as manipulative, predatory, and extremely good at making lonely women feel special. He had done this before, with at least 4 other women. The investigator suspected Mara was not the one who approached him. He had approached her. And every woman who fell for him had something in common. They were financially stable, had partners with good income, and often struggled emotionally with something. In other words, they were perfect targets. Twist 3 came 2 days later. Twist 3. Mara tried to pull me back in. Despite being caught cheating, lying, faking fertility struggles, running secret bank accounts, and throwing her life at another man, Mara suddenly wanted me back. She called me repeatedly. At first, I ignored her. Then she began leaving long voice notes. She said she made a mistake. She said she never wanted to leave me. She said she let her emotions control her. She said she could not picture a life without me. She said she would give up everything if I took her back. But the most disturbing part was that she never apologized for what she did. She apologized for getting caught. She asked for one last conversation. My attorney said it was fine as long as I recorded it for my protection. So I met her at a small restaurant. She came looking exhausted, but also strangely determined. Her apology started as expected until she dropped the next truth like a stone into water. She admitted Taryn had talked her into the affair. She said he made her believe she deserved a more exciting life, a life with passion and children. She said she got addicted to the attention he gave her. But then she leaned forward and said something that made the temperature around me drop. She said she believed I still loved her because she believed I needed her. She said she knew I was too emotionally damaged by the infertility diagnosis to ever divorce her. She said she was shocked I had the courage to walk away. She smirked when she said that. Smirked. As if divorcing her was a personal weakness for her to mock. That conversation reminded me of the real Mara, the one behind the mask. Cold. Calculated. Always predicting moves. I walked out of the restaurant without answering any of her final pleas. Twist 4. Taryn was using Mara for something far worse than an affair. The divorce dragged on. We exchanged documents, affidavits, and financials. 6 weeks in, Mara dropped another bomb. She filed a claim requesting spousal support. Yes, she cheated, sabotaged tests, lied, stole money, and she still tried to make me pay her monthly support. But the court was not having it. Not after all the evidence we had. Meanwhile, the private investigator dug deeper into Taryn. And that is when things turned dangerous. Taryn had been messaging Mara's sister. He had been pressuring her for information about me. He wanted to know my routines, my work schedule, everything. The investigator learned he had a history of trying to insert himself into the financial decisions of the women he targeted. He had encouraged 3 previous partners to take out loans or borrow money before ghosting them. The investigator believed Mara was meant to be his next long-term mark. He had planned to get her pregnant, then use the child as leverage for money. When Mara realized he was manipulating her, she snapped. She tried to contact him multiple times, but he blocked her. He had already moved on to another woman at the same gym. Mara fell apart completely. Her mask cracked. For the first time since everything started, she reached out to me crying, real crying, panicked crying, saying she ruined her life, saying she lost everything. And then the final twist dropped. Mara confessed something that changed the entire story again. She admitted she had lied about the pregnancy 2 years earlier. Not the existence of it. That part was true. She lied about who the father might have been. She told me she had been cheating long before I ever suspected. She said the man from 2 years earlier was someone from her job, a co-worker from a conference she never told me about. She said she never stopped cheating. The gym trainer was only the most recent one. She said she lost count of the lies she told. She said she did not know why she did it. She said she felt empty and kept looking for something that would fix the emptiness. Then she asked if I could forgive her. She asked if there was a chance we could start over. I said no, with no hesitation. The divorce finalized with her receiving nothing from me. The judge even reprimanded her for her behavior during the marriage. I expected to feel broken. Instead, I felt relieved. Like someone had finally stopped choking me after years of pressure I did not realize was there. I later learned that the new woman Taryn targeted filed a complaint against him. He quit the gym and vanished. Some say he moved states. Others say he changed his name. As for Mara, she is living with her sister and working a lower-paying job because her company let her go during the scandal. She still sends messages occasionally. I never open them. The truth is, I am healing. Slowly, quietly, but genuinely.